It is a tremendous honor to be voted as your next Speaker of the House, and I am immensely grateful for the opportunity to lead this chamber. First, I want to thank the people that put up with me and allow me to do this work. My family, Amanda, my wife, and Adam, my son. Without the two of you, and frankly your patience, I wouldn't be able to do any of this work. And I know that I don't say it enough, but I'm immensely grateful for that. Thank you, and I love you. When the going gets tough, and a lot of us have had our more share of that lately, I rely on two things: my family and my terrible sense of humor, for which I apologize in advance. We're at a critical point in our recovery from the pandemic. During the next 5 weeks, we will have the opportunity to support the people and the communities that were impacted the most the last couple of years. We may have different perspectives on how to do that. And as it turns out, I have had some experience navigating different perspectives. I grew up in a divided household. My parents divorced when I was 1 year old, and they couldn't have been more different. My father was an Air Force colonel in the reserves, a senior vice president of an insurance company, and lived in Oregon. And it's probably no surprise to any of you that he was active in Republican politics. In fact, my first political event was in support of Dan Quayle, the vice president. And I attended that. In my Boy Scout uniform. On the other end of the spectrum, however, my mother lived in Southern California and was very progressive. She volunteered at the Catholic Worker to feed the homeless. She protested and got arrested at the Nevada nuclear test sites. She was a proud feminist. I spent my childhood flying back and forth between these homes, and it gave me an early lesson on how two people can have similar goals, but approach them from vastly different places. My mom protested nuclear weapons because she wanted to keep the world safe. My dad supported them because he believed they were needed to keep the world safe. I believe that we are all here because we want to do good for Oregon, and it is important to me that we give the measure of grace that comes with recognizing that in all of us. As Speaker, I want to understand what motivates each of us so that I can help us work together to serve the entire state of Oregon when we agree, and most importantly, when we don't agree. That takes time, patience, honest communication, and in an environment that doesn't often encourage those things. I will try to do my best to exhibit these qualities in this role, and I am confident that you will let me know when I fall short. In that spirit, I want to share why some of this work matters to me. I spoke a moment ago about how my family provides stability for me and focus in my life. That was not my reality as a child. Early on in my life, my mother struggled with addiction, alcoholism, anger. Some of my earliest memories involve seeing these struggles up close. I was that kid. But I also saw firsthand her efforts to get sober. When I was in kindergarten, she joined Alcoholics Anonymous. She quit her job so that she could attend meetings during the day, and to make ends meet, she cleaned houses in her free time and businesses in the evening. For me as a child, that often meant sleeping on the couch of a hair salon while my mom cleaned in the middle of the night. I was that kid. The chaos of my childhood followed me. I was a terrible, terrible student. I struggled with ADD. I did not graduate high school on time because I failed an entire term for not showing up. Imagine what it means to be a teenager and have the police rush into your neighborhood because of physical abuse from a step-parent. I was that kid. So I drank. I experimented with drugs when I should have been focused on school. And during this deeply painful period in my life, I was arrested 4 times for things like a DUI, reckless endangerment, criminal mischief. And when I got to college, I did even worse. I left college after 2 terms with a 1.4 grade point average. What was my plan B? I didn't have one. So I did what any of us would do under those circumstances. I became a Jungle Cruise skipper at Walt Disney World. Now, you might think that getting a job helped me turn my life around, get my head on straight. And if that's what you thought, well, you'd be wrong. My jokes were so bad that I actually was fired from that job. I mean, that's correct. I was fired by Walt Disney World from my job as a Jungle Cruise skipper. Everybody has their own version of rock bottom. This was mine. I felt like an endless failure. I had absolutely zero confidence in myself. I remember being with my mother. I was angry. I was desperate. I was fearful. I was in tears, not knowing if I could even pass a single class at community college. I had no choice at that point to look at myself in the mirror and ask, what the hell am I doing with my life? The answer was not easy. The path was not short. It was not straight. But it led me to this moment, standing before you as the Speaker of the Oregon House of Representatives. There are so many Oregonians that find themselves where I was 2 decades ago, except for the Disney World part. We have all cared deeply for someone who has struggled to find their way forward in life. I stand before you as someone who has been in that dark place, who has been called dumb and stupid by members of his own family, who relates to the financial anxiety that so many of our students go through, still paying off my own student loan debt, who felt like an absolute failure. But I also stand before you as living proof that the worst moment of our lives doesn't have to be our destiny. I believe you are not defined by your failures, but instead how you move forward. We can and must see the positive potential in people, even when they cannot see those traits in themselves. I also recognize that during the most challenging moments of my childhood, I would have been treated differently by the criminal justice system if my skin color was different. It's part of the reason I believe we must continue to center equity in our work. This is why I wanted this job. This is why many of us are here, to make a difference in people's lives and create opportunities for Oregonians to build a better future. This is why the work we do here in this chamber matters. I'll conclude by saying that I believe this is the most important short session that we've ever had. This is why short sessions were created, to respond to crises like the ones we are facing right now. Like the rest of the country, Oregonians have faced immense challenges the last 2 years. We can give them hope that stability, safety, and a better tomorrow are possible. We know our kids learn best in a safe school environment 5 days a week, which is why we will work to support our teachers and our schools to make that happen. We will support working families and the small businesses that are the backbone of our economy. We're going to work to bring down the cost of living by making investments in key areas like housing, healthcare, and we'll work to address the homelessness crisis in every community in this state. Finally, we will prioritize keeping communities safe while investing in mental and behavioral health to help some of our most vulnerable neighbors. It has been an incredibly difficult 2 years for all of us. That is why I ask that we extend empathy to one another and keep our focus on the work before us to help all Oregonians. Thank you. Let's get to work.